The number does not appear in bold letters on the front page of newspapers. There is no countdown clock on television. There is no official speech announcing a dramatic solution. And yet, something very large is happening quietly in the background of the global financial system. The United States owes more than $38 trillion. That figure alone sounds like a crisis. But when you look around, you do not see a country collapsing. You do not see empty shelves, frozen banks, or a government that cannot function. So, what is going on? Is the debt not real? Is it being hidden? Or is it being handled in a way that most people never notice? The truth is more subtle than a conspiracy and more complex than a simple explanation. The US is not deleting its debt. It is slowly changing what that debt means. To understand this, imagine debt not as a pile of money, but as a timeline. When the US government spends more than it earns, it does not take money from a safe. It creates bonds, promises to pay in the future. These promises are bought by investors, banks, pension funds, foreign governments, and sometimes by the US central bank itself. So the debt is not one thing. It is millions of promises spread across decades. Some are short-term, some are long-term, some are held by Americans, some are held abroad. And that structure allows the debt to be reshaped without anyone ever erasing it. One of the most powerful tools in this process is time. Time changes the value of money. A dollar today does not buy what it bought 10 years ago. This slow decline in the value of money is called inflation. Inflation is usually described as a problem, rising prices, shrinking purchasing power. But from the point of view of a borrower, inflation is helpful. If you borrow money today and repay it later with cheaper dollars, the real cost of that debt is lower. Now scale that logic up to trillions of dollars. Every year that prices rise, the real burden of old debt becomes lighter. The number stays the same, but its weight shrinks. This is not a trick. It is not a secret. It is simply how a currency system works over long periods of time. But inflation alone is not enough. The second force at work is economic growth. If the economy grows, incomes rise, companies expand, productivity increases, and tax revenues grow. A larger economy can carry a larger debt. So what matters is not the size of the debt, but its size relative to the economy. $1 trillion is heavy for a small economy and light for a massive one. The US quietly relies on this relationship. It allows the economy to grow while the debt grows more slowly, making the debt feel smaller over time. The third force is interest. Debt becomes dangerous not when it is large, but when it becomes expensive. If interest rates are low, debt is easy to manage. If interest rates are high, debt becomes a burden. This is why central banks spend so much effort controlling interest rates. They are not only trying to manage inflation or employment. They are also protecting the structure of the debt. When crises happen, financial crashes, pandemics, wars, central banks often lower interest rates and buy government bonds. This stabilizes markets, but it also keeps debt affordable. It prevents the system from choking on its own promises. Another quiet mechanism is who holds the debt. A large portion of U.S. debt is held inside the country by retirement funds, insurance companies, banks, and the Federal Reserve. When the central bank buys government bonds, the government effectively owes money to itself. This does not make the debt disappear, but it changes its risk. It turns external pressure into internal accounting. It becomes a political and technical issue, not an existential threat. Foreign holders still exist, but they are part of a global system that depends on the dollar. Many countries need dollars for trade, for reserves, for stability. That demand supports the entire structure. So the debt survives because the system around it survives. But this quiet management has consequences. Inflation reduces the real burden of debt, but it also reduces the real value of savings and wages. Low interest rates support borrowing, but they also inflate asset prices like housing and stocks. Economic growth can make the debt manageable, but it can also deepen inequality if its benefits are unevenly distributed. So the debt is not being erased for free. It is being paid for indirectly. By consumers through higher prices. By savers through lower real returns. By future generations through long-term obligations. The system does not collapse, but it shifts the cost around. This is why the process feels invisible. There is no single moment when the debt disappears. There is no ceremony, no announcement, no dramatic change. There is only a slow transformation. The debt remains on the books, but its meaning changes. Its weight changes. Its impact shifts from one group to another. This is how the US is not erasing its debt, but reshaping it. Quietly, gradually, through inflation, growth, interest rates, and time. It is not a magic trick. It is a long game. And like all long games, its final outcome depends not on one decision, but on many small ones, made quietly, repeatedly, and far away from public attention. The debt is not vanishing. It is dissolving into the structure of the economy itself. And that is why most people never see it happen.